o'clock, and we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call the roll.
Mr. Sextro.
Here.
Ms. McDaniel. Here. Mr. Putoff.
Here.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Here.
Mr. Albrecht.
Here.
Mr. Burke.
Here.
All being present and accounted for. The minutes of the previous meeting have been distributed. Is there any additions, corrections, or changes? If not, go ahead, have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel.
Yes.
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Mr. Burke.
Yes.
Okay, let's go to committee reports. We'll begin with the Finance Committee.
Yeah, Mayor, another good month. Revenues exceeded expenditures for August by about $143,000. Year to date, again, revenues exceeding expenditures by over $3.1 million. So good financial state right now. The budget books, for those who are so anxiously awaiting them, rest of the council, they're going to be distributed next month. Cynthia is putting them together. We'll be able to review those after we get those next month. Gorman Farm had another very successful row-by-row fundraiser dinner. The event raised over $70,000 to support the farm's mission. Due to the contributions of the partners that helped with the event, the net profit was just over $61,000, so very low cost to putting on the event, which makes it that much more successful.
A lot of donations.
A lot of donations. They use a lot of the produce and such from the farm for the dinner, and certainly helps with the cost. Reminder again, Sunflower Festival is the weekend of the 7th and 8th. It's the first full weekend in October, so plan ahead for that. The Fall Farm Fun Days.
On the agenda tonight?
The Fall Farm Sundays, Fun Days are going to be on the weekend starting September 30th, so the farm will be open starting the last weekend in September through October to go and enjoy the farm, although it would not be the formal Sunflower Festival. Recreation, we will be exercising our options to renew the pool contract with SwimSafe as well as the fitness center contract with FitMe's. Both have been serving us well, and we're going to renew those contracts per the option. We welcomed 11 new 8th graders to Phi Lambda Pi, and they're starting their activities and joining the fun on Wednesday nights. Also, the second annual Pool Bash took place on August 25th. Over 305 people attended, so it was, again, another successful event for the rec department. Lastly, we've got the service department. Everybody looks forward to the leaves dropping in the fall. They're already starting to drop. Leaf bags can be picked up starting September 23rd, so next weekend, not this weekend, but the following weekend, and they're going to be available. Just a reminder that families or households are limited to 75 bags. Don't start picking up bags for your neighbors or trying to do that. There's limitations on how many bags can be distributed. Again, Alta Fiber, I've said this over the last few months, they continue to trench and tear up the yards and all that. They're moving pretty quickly. The installation is going to last few areas. Hopefully they'll be done in the next month or so. But we appreciate everybody's patience in dealing with putting in the new Alta Fiber.
I had a visit from Ultra Fiber today. Anybody, additions, corrections, changes, questions, comments? Fire and police.
Okay. I'm going to start with fire. So in a good news story, the fire department was instrumental in saving someone from cardiac arrest. And that person came and brought a cake to the firehouse as a thank you. So we thank the fire department for all that they do and for them being acknowledged for the work that they do. So last month we revised some civil rights policies. Everything that's in regards to that has been updated and communicated. I think this was necessary for some grants that we were applying for. Moving on to the police department, the chief, I think this has been communicated to everyone, but since we discussed it last month in open council session about meeting to discuss changing the work schedules in the police department, upon further discussion, the decision has been made not to consider going to 12-hour shifts at this time. It didn't allow us to take advantage of more training and experience being gathered by the department if we went to 12-hour shifts versus staying with 10-hour shifts. So we will stay with 10-hour shifts for the time being. But there will be an adjustment made to shift the work week to start on Sunday versus Monday, which will allow police officers to have some more weekend time. When we get to 2024 budgets, you're going to see a 25% increase in the training budget. This is a one-time thing due to the department is going to be switching to new handguns which use red dot sighting. So that's going to require additional range time, ammunition, et cetera. So just wanted to make you aware of that. So when you see that in the budget, that's what's going on. And more departments are going to this type of handgun as well. We had another Flux success story. There was a break-in on Subway in the middle of the night, and we were able to find the vehicle, identify a vehicle, and track down the suspect as a result of using that camera system. Okay, I think that's it for police. Let me move on to cultural arts. We talked a little bit about the big art party at our last meeting. The final numbers are in. There were more than 300 people that attended the big art party. Kudos to cultural arts once again on that programming. Applications for the photo exhibit closed on Friday. The exhibit itself will begin on October 1st. And we received a grant. I think we announced this before, but just as a reminder, the costs of putting on the exhibit are probably going to be covered in their entirety by a grant that the Cultural Arts Department received. Later this month, Art Ventures is going to, I forgot just that quickly, Dayton Sun Watch. There are still 3 spots available. So please check the website to sign up for that. And then moving on to the building department. This is a busy time here. In the month of August, there were 22 applications received, and plan reviews were made on all of the applications. 26 permits were issued with a construction value of almost $10,700,000, resulting in revenue just over $25,000 for the village. One of those permits of note, of course, was General Tools, a new manufacturing building in the Arrowhead subdivision, which has a construction value of a little over $10 million. From a code enforcement standpoint, there were 5 new cases opened in August as a result of our building planning and zoning manager doing sweeps throughout the community to make sure that everything is in place. He also met with the owner of Spartan Drive, who, many of you may not be aware of this, the owner actually resides in Florida. And due to his health situation, he had not been here. When he came, he was not at all pleased with the state of Spartan Drive. So he terminated the property manager, got a new one, and is committed to doing some upgrades. There have already been some changes to improve that property. So the plan is to get it back in shape as quickly as possible. And I think that concludes our report.
Any comments, questions?
Yeah, just a question. Jody Kessler had talked about the Bell Tower Art Pavilion with the windows. I drove by, it looks like it's been completed.
James?
James?
I did respond by email to her letter.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, all the units have been installed. We still have to do the final caulking and trim work. So they finished the doors on yesterday. So they have a crew that's supposed to come out to do that, and then it'll finalize it. Right now, the locks are construction blanks. We're going to have them key door key system, but until they get done and out, that's what they need.
Was that all a custom job?
Yes.
They didn't, yeah, it didn't look like they were standard windows.
No, these were all storefront, custom built. I mean, part of the issues were the existing Windows system that was installed when the building was built had a lintel that was basically welded into the system. That then the masonry was built around it, so they had to cut that off. The only way to really do it was an oscillating saw. So it took quite a bit of time and labor for that to work through.
Okay. Thanks, James.
And then we're also going to repaint that when we're done.
Our crew's gonna do this.
Any other questions, comments?
Mayor, I have one other question. I was actually at American Heart Association meeting this morning, and they had talked about Hamilton County actually raising enough money to have an AED in every police car. And I know right now they're also working on a program for every police car in the city of Cincinnati. Are we looking at something like that, Mike?
That exact topic was discussed with Chief Cordy when I became chief, and due to the response time that we have with the police, we're virtually there with them. So we felt the expense wasn't needed. But if you'd like us to do that, we'll re-explore that option.
I'm just wondering, I agree that everything's pretty close proximity, and, you know, you're right here, and Hamilton County's spread out, so is the city of Cincinnati, so
Yeah.
if you guys feel that it's comfortable, I'm good.
Tim and I will have another discussion if that,
Yeah, that'd be worthwhile. And just let us know then.
absolutely.
Have the fire and police talk to each other. Yeah. Any other comments, questions? I just have one thing. We have been beset all week by a indigent person in the village who has passed away. And the hospital in Dayton called us and told us that we had to pay for the funeral. We've done a lot of inquiries and investigations into it. It now appears that we are responsible for a cremation, and apparently the surviving son is going to deal with that. We're going to try to contact him as well, but the village may incur some expense.
And why is that, Mayor? Why?
It's an indigent person who's passed away in the village, and the law of Ohio says that the municipality then must foot the expense of just the cremation process, and we're looking into that. She has some cemetery lots at Rest Haven. Her husband's buried at Rest Haven. She has a will. The son is the executor. We think there's a question of indigency, but the hospital wants an answer, and so we're going to work on it. Questions? Okay, let's go to the ordinances then, and we'll begin with ordinance 23-47. I'd like permission to read it by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Burke,
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel.
Yes. An ordinance authorizing the payment of amounts due under certain contracts requiring certification of availability of funds and declaring it as an emergency. May I have a motion to suspend the second and third reading of the ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Mr. Burke.
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel.
May I have a motion to adopt the emergency clause of the ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel.
Yes.
Mr. Burke.
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
May I have a motion to adopt the ordinance as an emergency?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Mr. Burke.
Yes.
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel.
Yes. I now declare ordinance 23-47 adopted as an emergency. Next is ordinance 23-48. I need permission to read it by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel.
Yes.
Mr. Burke.
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
An ordinance approving an additional appropriation in the capital fund and declaring it as an emergency. This was a, Mr. Jeffers, why don't you explain it? It's a pipe that went bad under Reading Road and we had an emergency.
Yeah, so under the, in preparation for our annual resurfacing program, our crew was doing catch basin repairs there in front of the Marathon Station at Cooper and Reading Road, and discovered that the pipe that crosses under Reading Road, an old corrugated metal pipe, was completely deteriorated. So this ordinance basically, in order to get the contractor set up, they actually started yesterday doing the work. We basically use the capital fund and we're reimbursing it when the backhoe comes in. And it's fortunate we did it because we were afraid the road was going to collapse, because there was actually a section of it that fell as they started digging. So they hope to be, weather cooperates the rest of the week, and then early next week should be done, and then the paving crews should be able to get started.
Any questions? Motion to suspend the second and third reading of the ordinance.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Burke.
Yes.
Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel. Yes. Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Motion to adopt the an emergency clause in the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Mr. Burke.
Yes.
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel. Yes.
Motion to adopt the ordinance as an emergency.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Burke.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel. Yes.
I now declare ordinance 23-48 adopted as an emergency. Next is ordinance 23-49. I'd like permission to read it by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Burke.
Yes.
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Mr. Sextro. Ms.
Yes.
McDaniel. Yes. Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
An ordinance approving a transfer from the contingency fund to the building department and declaring it as an emergency. This is to, we are refurnishing the police room. We have a problem back there in that we have too many people and not enough seats, and this is to pay for it. May I have a motion to suspend the second and third reading of the ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel. Yes. Mr. Burke.
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Now I need a motion to adopt the emergency clause of the ordinance.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Burke.
Yes.
Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel. Yes. Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Motion to adopt the ordinance as an emergency.
So moved.
Second?
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel. Yes. Mr. Burke.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
I now declare ordinance 23-49 adopted as an emergency. Next is ordinance 23-50. I need permission to read it by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Burke,
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel.
Yes.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute the Second Amendment to the contract for operation, management, and maintenance of the Gorman Heritage Farm with the Gorman Heritage Farm Foundation. Would you come forward as the president of the farm?
As I've mentioned to a number of you, this is a mechanical issue. The farm in the village entered into a number of years ago an allocation where the annual operating fund was $350,000 and you allocated $65,000 in capital. Based on some peculiarities with the way capital is distributed, we're unable to get certain amounts of operating capital out of the account to apply it to as we need it. And so what we've done is we've asked you to reallocate the total amount that you give us every year. It's not going to change. You're not going to give us a penny more money. It's all going to be exactly the same. The difference is that certain amount of monies will go out into the operating account and can be dispensed for our capital needs through that, and we'll get around the mechanical issues that we've run into. And that's all it requires. So does anybody have any questions?
Any other questions?
I have a question. On the ordinance, on the material that Barb had attached, there's two amendments. They look like they're duplicates. Is one different than the other?
No, they are. If you read them, it looks like they are mechanically slightly different.
Okay.
One is for the capital budget, one is for the operating budget, but there are two amendments, but it's the same issue.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. May I have a motion to suspend the second and third reading of the ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Mr. Burke.
Yes.
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel.
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
May I have a motion to adopt the ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Burke.
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel.
Yes. I now declare ordinance 23-50 adopted. Next, we have ordinance 23-51. I'd like permission to read it by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel. Yes. Mr. Burke.
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
An ordinance making an appointment to the Recreation Commission in the Village of Evendale and declaring it as an emergency. May I have a motion to suspend the second and third reading of the ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel. Yes. Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Mr. Burke.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Now I need a motion to adopt the emergency clause of the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Burke.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel. Yes. Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Now may I have a motion to adopt the ordinance as an emergency?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Mr. Burke.
Yes.
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel. Yes. Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
I now declare ordinance 23-51 adopted as an emergency. Next is ordinance 23-52. I'd like permission to read it by title only.
So moved.
Second. Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel. Yes. Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Mr. Burke.
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
An ordinance approving a subdivision plat providing for the division of property at 100450 Medallion Drive, currently identified as parcel 611-0030-0236, and declaring it as an emergency. This is the property by ADM. It's right next to ADM over on Medallion Drive. May I have a motion to suspend the second and third reading of the ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Sextro.
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson.
Yes.
Mr. Putoff.
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel. Yes. Mr. Burke.
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yes.
Now I need a motion to adopt the emergency clause of the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Smiley Robertson?
Yes.
Mr. Sextro?
Yes.
Mr. Putoff?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel? Yes. Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
Now I need a motion to adopt the ordinance as an emergency.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Sextro?
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
Mr. Putoff?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel? Yes. Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson?
Yes.
I now declare ordinance 23-52 adopted as an emergency. Next, we have Resolution 23-03. I need permission to read it by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson?
Yes.
Mr. Sextro?
Yes.
Mr. Putoff?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel? Yes.
A resolution approving the Ohio Department of Commerce Division of Liquor Control Economic Development Transfer Form Trext application from Compass Group USA, Inc., and declaring it as an emergency. They want to transfer a liquor license. We have none available in the village, and they want to transfer a liquor license to General Electric.
So it's the same owner, they're just transferring it, looks like.
No.
It'll come from Fairborn. No, they're buying, I presume they bought it from someplace in Fairborn, Ohio. And they're transferring it into the village because of the fact that we do not have any liquor licenses available. It is necessary that we accept such transfer legally.
So what would GE Aerospace, why would they want a liquor license?
Well, they have it in their event spaces, which is mainly that big building over there on their campus. They use it for purposes of shows that they have there. People come in. They say that it's going to be $1.7 million economic development process.
$300,000 tax.
Yeah. Right. Any other questions? Okay. May I have a motion to suspend the second and third reading of the ordinance?
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Sextro?
Yes.
Mr. Putoff?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel? Yes. Ms. Smiley Robertson?
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
Now I need a motion to adopt the emergency clause of the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Sextro?
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
Mr. Putoff?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel? Yes. Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson?
Yes.
Now I need a motion to adopt the ordinance as an emergency.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
Mr. Putoff?
Yes.
Mr. Sextro?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel? Yes. Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson?
Yes.
I now declare Resolution 23-03 adopted as an emergency. Now I need a motion to go into executive session to consider appointment, employment, discipline, or compensation of a public employee or official. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Sextro?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel? Yes. Mr. Putoff?
Yes.
Ms. Smiley Robertson?
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
We will now adjourn to executive session.